don't know. I have an idea Thomas Franks is a head coach. We talked about the head
Right,
coach
yeah.
earlier. I have an idea he's head coach rather than manager, which would kind of make sense. But yeah, I hope it works out for him. He strikes me as a good guy. He did very well generally at Brentford. And
Yeah.
again, you've got to be given time. You go into a new job, you need a bit of space to get it as you want it to be.
Yeah, I like him. I like Thomas Frank.
Yeah.
Now there's one player that we sort of thought was due for Saudi, but he never did because Chelsea bought him, I think. Raheem Sterling. Now what's happening with him? Do we know anything about him?
It's funny, I've not even thought about him for a while, but the last thing I heard was that on one of the Palace fans' websites or something like that, a couple of months ago, somebody said, "Oh, the rumor is that we're going to try and get Raheem Sterling in the window." And I mean, I didn't really it didn't have an impact on me one way or the other because, as I
Yeah.
said, I've heard so many times about players who might be coming to Palace and then they don't for the most part. So you take it with a pinch of salt until it happens. But as I remember it, I mean, I think he's a good player.
Hmm.
Whether he's still got the things to offer that he has in the past at Manchester City and Liverpool before that, wasn't it? I don't know. I really don't know. But the general consensus of comments that I saw on that story was people were not over keen. I don't
No,
know why. I mean, he is on his days a very good footballer. He played for England, but
it was a very
possibly
good.
he's yeah, he was, and he's probably had his best days. He was very good at Liverpool. That's why he went to Manchester City. Um, and then, of course, to where is he now? Is it Arsenal? Is it? I can't
Chelsea.
remember.
Chelsea
Chelsea. Is
bought
it
him. Yeah,
Chelsea?
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he doesn't really get a look in, does he? So
No.
I don't know whether he'll be transferred or whatever. But yeah, I think he could do a job for a club. But I mean, as forwards go now with Johnson, who Palace have bought, and
Yeah.
we've got Jeremy Pino and of course Mateta, who's not firing too much at the moment, but he's good on his day. Then he wouldn't be a good fit, Sterling, for Palace at the moment anyway. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some clubs who'd take him.
Yeah. Well, we wish him the best, don't we? Now we were talking about Anthony Semenyo last year in our last podcast, and we were kind of trying to look for his best fit club-wise. And now it's becoming a bit more evident. Could still be a rumor, we don't know. Might not materialize, might fall apart. But it's becoming a bit more evident that he's going to end up at Manchester City, according to what I've read today. Now, do we think he's a good fit for Manchester City? Nah, let me rephrase that. Do we think he will actually get play time at Manchester City? I think that's the
You
more.
know, are we talking about the Bournemouth? Is he the Bournemouth player?
Yes, the Bournemouth player,
Yeah,
Anthony Semenyo, the one that
yeah,
scored last night.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, he's an excellent player. He really
is
is. And again, this whole question of transfers
Yeah,
and players' expectations is quite an interesting one because again, we talked earlier about what's come to light really, partly through Amorim, but it's been evident for a while that the difference between a head coach and a manager has kind of been slid into the system and
mm,
almost undercover. People haven't been aware of what the implications are. And I think the same is true of transfers. Now, there's different types. Transfers. Now, there's different types of transfer in the football windows. One's where a club is, and we're talking the Premier League, a club is buying a pretty good top player, and In theory, at least, there's no way that they would take that transfer. They would agree to it if they were sort of told, "Well, yeah, you're going to be a squad player," and they say, "What does that mean?" He knows what it means. You say, "Yeah, well, you've got to fight for your place." Football nowadays is a squad game with all the many games teams have to play, which is fair comment. And you could say, I don't know, relatively few are guaranteed a place on the team sheet every week. Now, maybe it's more than a few, but I mean, my thinking about when Brennan Johnson, who I think is a very good player, he scored a lot of goals for Spurs last season. And what I've seen of him now in 2 games on the TV, I didn't go last night because I think I told you I had a particular health issue. But anyway, and it suited me to be in the warm. But he looked very good last night. And then I watched him play at Newcastle again on TV, his first game, and he looks good. And he could have scored. He had a couple of good chances last night. But the point I'm making is that I believe when he came to Palace, because he was very pleased and quick to agree the transfer, that he must have been told, you're basically you're going to start the matches. Because I think if a player is told he's just a squad player, he was tending to become that at Tottenham recently. So he would have wanted, if not guarantees, strong indications that he would start. But so it's a very interesting point that we're talking about here, that this very good Bournemouth player who looks to be able to play, shall we say, at a high level with a higher level team. You can never tell, of course, but he looks as if he's got those qualities. But as you're right, Manchester City, almost of all teams, have got they're blessed with, a lot of talent, so that some of their really good players have to sort of be patient, even like Jeremy Doku, who I think is one of their best players. He's superb. And yet sometimes he doesn't start. He didn't start when Jack Grealish was there last season. Jack would sometimes come on, sometimes Jeremy would start. It was a bit of a squad situation with them. And of course now they've got, I can't think of his name at Man City, but another player who sometimes alternates with Doku. And yet I think, for me, he's one of the best players in the Premier League. He's quick, he's decisive, he's talented, and yet he has to fight for his place. And that's the point. With many clubs, in answer to your question, I would say no. I think if they buy this guy, he's going to.